Hey, it's page 2 time for the Tchaikovsky. This is the toughest page, so we're going to jump into this section. I'm going to flip the camera around and show you my notations on the music. We're going to work through it as much as we can this way. I'm probably going to cover just the first half of page 2 in this video, and then in the next video we'll attack the second half. And because that's a lot, really. There's so much on this page. It's crazy. It took me a long time to write the fingerings in. I will tell you a few things. As far as fingerings go, in a piece like this, there are always options. Some things you could do it in first, you might not be able to for lots of reasons. I'm going to give you the fingerings that I think work the best for me, but it doesn't mean it's the only fingering. Stuff like this, there's definitely options. So if you find a fingering that really works for you, that's great. But keep in mind that you may feel like, oh, I could totally do this with an easier fingering while you're playing it at a slow speed, but when you play it at a faster speed or at the tempo that it actually is, it might not work. So I would sort of take these fingerings into consideration before you, and some, they are weird because the music is really crazy. There's 6 flats. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. That's so difficult. So that means there's going to be weird fingerings that we're not used to doing. So you have to just give it a try. I'll give you the easiest I can possibly find. Some I definitely simplified for you, and some are just weird. That's just, there's no way around it. Okay, so when we're dealing with this key, what makes this page so difficult? Why we're going to go ahead and jump in right here. We'll get through 2, 3, and 4. I've already given you 5 and 6. And then I guess I'll get to page 1 last, so since your teacher was working backwards with you. But we're jumping in here because you've been requesting to get this, and I see why, because it's so difficult. When you have a key with 6 flats, you can also think of some of the notes in sharps. So for example, let me think of an example for you. You know, what are the notes that are added when we have 6 flats? The 5th and the 6th flat are the ones that are difficult. For example, one of those is G flat, okay? And G flat is also F sharp. So, or let's say D flat, that could also be C sharp. So sometimes, depending on what the notes are, you may use a fingering that might be a sharp fingering instead of a flat fingering. So instead of playing, it depends on the grouping of notes. So if I were to play a D flat, I would use a flat 3. So I'd have a flat 1, natural 2, flat 3. Although in this key, you may have a flat 2 also. Flat 3, flat 4, okay? But this D flat right here is actually a C sharp. So depending on the group of notes, you might actually just play it like a C sharp with your sharp 2, okay? Or let's say for C flat, so if this is B flat and then this is C flat, you'd play it with a flat 2, which is super weird because that's your 2 sitting on what would be your first tape. Back in the day when you might have had a tape there, your number 1 tape, you're going to put your 2 there, and that feels so strange. You do get used to it. But depending on the groupings of notes, you may be able to play that with a 1, like a B, instead of thinking of it as a C flat. But if you have B flat, C flat, B flat, C flat, and a bunch, those 2 combined together and moving back and forth between B flat and C flat, you're going to need both fingers, okay? But if you just have one of them, you just have that C flat, you might be able to use it as a B. So I've included that in the fingerings, those kind of ideas. So it definitely makes your brain go a little crazy sometimes when you're thinking about, you're looking at notes with flats, but you might be thinking of it as a sharp. And we do the same thing when we have a bunch of sharps. Sometimes we think of those notes in flats because they're actually really, really related. So hopefully that makes sense to you as you work through this, and you may think, what did you just say, Miss Summer? Just give it a try, and as you go through, you'll start to understand what I mean, because it makes more sense that way. Okay, what else? It's really fast. When I listen to it, it sounds like it's about 120, although it does seem to speed up in places a little bit. So 120, give or take. But there's definitely places we got to break this down at a slower tempo. What else? I'm going to turn the camera around so that we can see. And I just want to check my notes, but I don't want to mess up my paper. Wait. Hey, so close to the camera. Oh, okay. So for sure, we need to listen to this piece. If you have not listened to this piece, please go listen to it again and again, and listen to it while you look at your music, okay? So look at your music while you're listening to it. Try to follow along and hear your part, okay? A lot of times when I just listen to, like, really listen to the second page and the third page, and I could tell that there are lots of places where you're doubling with the viola and cello, and then I think it's an oboe or a clarinet playing the part with you. I can tell you're not with the first violin part sometimes, a lot of times. So, and the rhythm in the very first half of this page, you can hear that very clearly on the recording. So we're going to go over the rhythm, but it would help to just listen and try to count that rhythm out while you listen to it. It is fast, and that's where it makes it tricky, but sometimes it helps if you can just sort of feel it and if you can hear it. If you've never heard it, I mean, just don't do that. Listen to it. Don't do that. Listen to the piece a lot until you really know what it sounds like. You could sort of hum it along, okay? The other thing, let me double check my notes. Oh, use open strings wherever you can. So there are a lot of places where you get an open string note. It's saying a natural instead of a flat. And if it works, and I've written a lot of them in, absolutely use it and give your fingers a break. We have to use our flat fours and our fours a lot. We don't get to use open strings a ton because of the key. So if you do get a chance to use it, by all means use it. What else? Wait, I'm sorry, I have my notes like sort of in a weird place. Okay, so I'm going to flip this around and we're going to look at these notes. Okay, here it goes. Let's hope I don't drop the camera. Okay, so I hope that this is clear for you, and I'm trying to just focus in on the first half, so, I'm purposely not showing you the bottom half. I am going to include in my email just a straight picture of all my notes so that you can hopefully zoom in and write things in your part. So, and I even put things in different color for you, make it pop out as much as I possibly could. But this is a busy page. There is very little room to write what you need to know. So, stop this video, pause it, and write this stuff in. You may have to come back to it several times to do that, or refer to the picture for sure, because, this took me a really long time to write. But good notes go a really long way, and don't be afraid to use some color if it helps you out. It helps me. Okay, so this first part, I'm talking about going up to E. Okay, so basically stopping for the purpose of this video at E, maybe at the end of this line. But as far as the rhythm goes, stopping at E, everything up here, we can break this down counting in eighth notes, okay? So we're going to do that. Let's talk one more thing about the key. So notice the key with the 6 flats. Oh my goodness. The key here is E minor. And in the beginning of the piece, you have 3 flats. And so it's an E major, and then it switches to E minor. So practicing an E flat major scale and an E flat minor scale will help you. And we can do that some in lesson. Even if you just do 2 octaves, if doing the 3rd octave is too difficult, just to kind of get a sense of the key a little bit, I would try the E flat minor before you play this page. Just try it some. Put your E flat drone on. So make sure you've got that metronome and you put it on E flat. So how would I do that for you? E flat. or it may say D sharp, depending on your metronome and how you do it. So if I went down one and came back up, it could say D sharp. It's the same thing, E flat. But if you get E flat on there, you'll probably feel more comfortable. Okay, and just turn that pitch on and listen to it as you play. This one is in the 4th register. If you went down to the 3rd register, that might be a little more pleasant to listen to, and it'll help you get more in tune a little bit. So that's going to be the challenge in this piece for sure, is being in tune and being on time. So let's break down the rhythm. You know, the notes are what they are. They're difficult in certain ways because of the key, but it's the rhythm and the speed that kind of throws this part off a little bit. Okay, so we have, let me get back to my metronome. Like I said, it's about 120 for your quarter note. Okay, so notice here that I wrote your quarter note is about 120. Okay, so if I were to put it on 120 right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1 ba 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 ba. Okay, so we're gonna get into that. That's about what it will feel like ultimately. And sometimes, so that's counting every single quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes it sort of feels like it's in 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So don't be surprised as you get faster that it may sort of feel like it's in 2, especially say right here. Da 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 dum. 1 da 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 dum. It feels like 1 da 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 2 da 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 dum. You know, so you'll feel it. There's times when it kind of feels that way. Okay, so here we go. Now, for the sake of figuring this out, I've written over here that we have a slow 8th note pulse tempo. If you consider this tempo I'm going to give you an 8th note at about 140, and you can certainly slow it down more if that's too fast for you, but for this video I'm going to do it at 140 for you. And you would gradually speed this up and just count along and play at that speed until you start to really feel the rhythm and you can play it listening to the quarter note. But to break it down, we kind of need to work with the 8th note. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my metronome to 140. Hey, hey, 140. There it is. Okay. So we're thinking in the 8th note. So that'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, or we may say TTs, T T T T T T. Sometimes that's easier. So I said I was going to do 140, but I may slow this down a little bit more. Let's see. Yeah, let's go like 125. Okay. Okay, here we go. So this is really hard to see, but this first thing you have right here is a rest. And this little note on top is just a cue. So that's violin 1 playing bum, bum, whatever that is. It's an octave. And then you come in. You probably won't even hear that because it's so fast. But you basically have a silence right there on the downbeat. And I put a bracket. Let me do this for you. Oh, I love this color. Get some colors, y'all, and do some color on your paper. It will help. You guys, this is the same thing. Okay, it's a little more clear to see right here. So let me look at that. So let's look at this and we'll break this down. Okay, so if we're thinking in TTs, T, 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 sh, sh. So how many TTs are in a quarter rest? That would be 2. So you may hear me count 1, 2, 1. I like to count what I see. So instead of trying to add that together, that's 2, 1, 2, 1. Or here I'd have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, count what you see. 1, T, T, 1, 2, T, T, sh, sh, T, T, sh, sh, T, 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 sh, T, sh, T, sh, T, 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 sh, T, sh, T, sh, T, T, T. Okay, so, you know, here I would count something like sh, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we're just counting in TTs. Now, as you go faster, you wouldn't really count it that way, but we have to figure it out somehow. Okay. I'm going to slow it down even more. We're going to do this at 110. Okay, so I'm going to even write this right here for you. 110. Okay. So, ready, and sh, T, 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 1, 2, 1, T, sh, T, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and sh, T, T, sh, T, T, sh, 1 and 2 and 3 and tika, 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 1, 2, da, da, sh, 1, 2, 3, 4, T, 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 sh, sh, T, 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 sh, 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 T, sh, T, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, T, T, sh, sh, T, T, sh, sh, T, T, sh, sh, T, 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 sh, T, sh, T, sh, T, 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 sh, T, sh, T, sh, T, 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 sh, 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 ta, ta, T, 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 sh, ta, ta, T, 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 sh, T, 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 sh, T, 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 sh, T, T, ta, T, T, ta, tika, 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 ti. Okay, so here I said ta. So because those two eighth notes tied together, those two TTs, are like a ta. So they feel like a ta. Two of the T's. T, 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 ta, ta, T, 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 sh, ta, ta, T, 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 sh, T, T, T. Okay? I did notice too, I'm going to do something here. Ooh, don't move, stand. Oh, I hope I don't mess this up. It's so hard to write anything on this page. A highlighter might have done that better. Okay, here we go. So right here you have T, T, ta, T, T, ta. So this group of notes, the rhythm is exactly the same as this one and those right there. Before you start the descent of the 16th notes right here, tika, 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 that's crazy, by the way. So T, T, ta, T, T, ta, that's a tie, so that feels like a ta. So it would sound like, and T, T, ta, T, T, ta, tika, 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 tika. Okay. All right. So I'm going to play that for you. Now take note of the fingerings that's in there. There's so many, and I put a ton of these little rooftops, they call them. It looks like a little roof. That means that those two notes that I'm connecting, or those two fingers, that's a half step, or it means that your fingers touch. Okay? So, and sometimes we need that to help us out with stuff like this. So let's see. That means those two fingers touch instead of it being a whole step. All right, so I try to mark places where you might have two fingers that will touch, especially with all these crazy flats. You might feel like, I don't know where this A flat is right here. Where is that? But I know where A natural is, regular old A. So I can put the 2 next to the 3. So you definitely have to use the fingers you do feel comfortable with, the notes that you know where it is, and it can help the next finger find where it needs to go. So let's see if I can demonstrate that for you. Let's see. So for example, here, I have the little rooftop, but it's upside down because that's the only place I could put it. The last note of this group right here is F natural. And then the first note of beat 2 is G flat. So where is that? But we know where F natural is. That should be okay for you. And then G flat is right next to it. So they should touch each other. Okay. So you would have on that string, let's see if I can show you, E flat, F natural, and now G flat is right next to it. Okay. There are some flat exercises we can do together that we'll try to do. Okay, so stuff like that. Also, I want you to notice in this area that we have, it's sort of creeping up, and it's moving actually in a chromatic sort of a way. So it starts on B flat, and then we go to C flat, okay? And let me write, this is actually a C flat, which is a B. Okay, so we have B flat here with a flat 1, and this is C flat. Okay, so I'm telling you to go ahead and put your 1 on it and play it like a B. It feels easier, and you have a little space there to move your finger. And then we move to C natural, and you're going to use your 2 on that, like a regular C natural. Okay, then it moves up to D flat. So I'm telling you to move your 2 up and play it like a C sharp. Okay, it's the same note and it'll feel better to your hand. That's followed by D natural. You're going to do that with your regular 3 right next to each other. So these 2 touch. Okay, then we have our flat 4. I didn't write that in for you. You know, I can't write every single note. I'll do the best I can. Now, then for example, this is F natural, which is a low 1. And over here we have G flat. Okay, and I'm recommending that you move your 1 and put it on the tape. So it would be like an F sharp. So you'd have your regular 1 for that G flat. This is also G flat. And then this is G natural. And then this is A flat. Ugh, boy, that's hard to explain. Let's see. So that ends up being F sharp, G natural, A flat. They all touch. F sharp, G natural, A flat. So you're starting on F natural to begin with, and then in the rest you're going to go to F sharp, which is the G flat, and then for G natural, that's just your 2 right next to it. That feels good. And then my A flat is flat 3. It's right next to it. So all 3 fingers actually touch right there. Okay. And then when we get to here, that A flat continues. Now I wrote that in, so make sure you write it in for yourself because it's kind of confusing. Consider that a G sharp and an A. So sharp 2, regular 3 right next to it, they touch, and your sharp 2 again. So that looks like this. G sharp, A, G sharp, right? So, you know, G sharp, A, G sharp, that should feel pretty comfortable to us. But the way it looks does not seem that way. It looks really, really hard. So sometimes if we think in sharps, it's something we can actually do. Whereas when we're reading it in these flats, we feel like we can't do that, right? So think of it in whatever way makes more sense to you and use the fingers that make it more accessible for you, okay? Then I have you shifting up here. And I'm also recommending that you go to 3rd position and you don't shift up until here. Pardon me, I didn't write that in. Okay, so you're going to just stay in 3rd position. Okay, I'm going to pause it there and then I'll come back and do a play along for you. Okay?